There we go. Hey, everybody. It's Tara Thomas Gettman with LIFT. We are so excited to be launching our first live stream of our weekly LIFTu series, and so appropriate that our special guest, in addition to Amber Moore, a star here at LIFT, is Dr. Ken Barron. He's one of our favorites. Bonus, right, Amber, when your clients become friends. Tell us a little bit before we start, Ken, about what you do. Just give us the rundown of your title and your responsibilities at UMBC.
Sure. I'm Ken Barron. I'm an assistant vice provost for academic advising and student success. So lots of responsibilities around ensuring students are advised, registered, returning each semester, being prepared for entry-level employment, graduate school, professional school, a big focus on retention. We're really excited in the last couple of years with respect to COVID that we've been able to take advantage of online education and bring back students who had disconnected from the university through our Finish Line program. Something that is a big focus for us, a big success story, something negative that came out of that, difficult time period. And a lot of it was leveraging online technology, online education. And that's, I think, part of our story today is the success of using online tools for academic advising.
Well, thank you for sharing that. And Amber, you and your team have really just been in lockstep with University of Maryland, Baltimore County, as Ken suggests, ever since COVID changed things so dramatically. Talk about what you do at LIFT and how you came to partner with Ken and his team.
Yeah, it was definitely one of those moments of being in the right place at the right time, I think, for us and for UMBC. They had this, what seemed to be insurmountable challenge that they needed to overcome with being able to take this really large, really well done orientation advising that was in person and figure out how to do it in a virtual manner where not only do we need students advisors in one place, but we also need all of the other departments and people that help support that process. And it's a lot of moving pieces. And so, my entire job and my entire role and what I'm there to help with is to figure out how we take an experience and merge that experience with the technology, no matter what the technology is. And in this case, we took that really amazing virtual or in-person experience and turned it virtual using WebEx. And honestly, it kind of blew us all away. Like, I knew it would work, of course, but it turned out that it had so many added benefits that no one was really expecting, which was really exciting.
We should mention that UMBC was known for its incredible advising, in-person orientation engagement, right, Ken? I mean, you guys really put yourselves on the map for that. So what a bonus that you were able to shift it to a virtual option that not just, worked, it exceeded everyone's expectations. Talk a little bit about the outcome.
Yeah, well, I think it does start. I was thinking through, before the interview today, like, what are we going to talk about? And part of it is to give credit to my office and to enrollment management. We developed a really strong program over the years. I'm running up to my 17th year. I'm here at UMBC, and I've been involved in orientation throughout each of those years. And over time, we've built a strong model that was very much driven by humanistic values, where we really value the one-on-one experience, and that was something that was definitely a concern in the beginning. Was how we're going to do this, how we're going to leverage the technology. Is it going to feel right? Is it going to achieve the kinds of goals and objectives that we've had in the past with those really strong outcomes? The students have really been, have given us high marks in terms of the experience and the learning outcomes, that they feel prepared and feel connected to the institution. So that was really important to us, and something that we were managing and monitoring along the way. And it was great. And we just actually presented on this at the National Academic Advising Association conference along with Amber. One of the great things is that we had the metrics. I was able to kind of look at what were students saying. We didn't have to wait till the end of the summer. We were finding out what they had to say about the operation, as we began. So we were able to do some analysis of that, and to also keep track, which was really important, to the folks that we report to with this brand new model, that we were able to kind of monitor and track how many students are we advising, registering, authorizing, and then other points during the summer, well, who isn't registered anymore? We need to get back in touch with those people. So, I mean, along the way, I think we were able to, again, leverage the tools and the technology in such a way to achieve those very strong humanistic ends.
That's such a great way to put it, that you've always, people have powered really the decision making in this process. And I know that's our hallmark at Lyft, is trying to use people to drive the technology, not the other way around. If you're just joining us, I'm Tara Thomas Gettman with Lyft. You are joining our weekly now live stream with our inaugural guest, Amber Moore, part of our Lyft team, and our friend at UMBC, Dr. Ken Barron, who's been integral in helping the university pivot during COVID with much success. Amber, talk about, when we talk about this academic advising shift to a virtual model, talk about the outcome. 2 years essentially of record enrollment, right, for UMBC, that really bucked a lot of the national trends.
Yeah, when 2020 hit, nobody really knew what to expect. And you had these senior students, and these new, incoming freshmen really questioning what to do. And do I really go to university? Do I stay at home? Like, what am I going to do with with this really weird year? And unfortunately, a lot of higher ed institutions saw a pretty significant drop in enrollment. And it's one of those things that I think everybody is bracing for it. I'm sure UMBC was bracing for it. But what we saw was actually at UMBC anyways, the drop wasn't so bad. And then it was immediately followed by 2 record year enrollments, which was just so exciting to see for them. And there's so much that goes into a student deciding, whether to go to a college or not, right? And how they feel connected to a campus. There's lots of different inputs. And one of the big ones is, how is my experience when it comes to registering for my classes, in these first faces I'm meeting at this campus. And I'll tell you firsthand, being somebody who's technically external to UMBC, the advisors that they have and the people who meet with these students every single day, all summer long, helping them really choose which courses and why and all of the different things, like, they truly care, and it shows. And it even shows over a video screen.
Oh, that's so true. We've had a chance to interview your team. In addition to Dr. Barron, Ken, you've got the likes of Monique and Laszlo and, so many other great personalities that truly have a passion for the work. Talk about that pride, because every time that I've come away from engaging with you, you are not only proud of the work, but you're proud of how much people overcome, the hurdles collectively in this case. So share a little bit about what drives your team that sets you guys apart.
Well, first, I just wanted to say it doesn't hurt us that Amber was a former academic advisor, and I think we've given her an honorary title as advisor from the Office for Academic and Pre-Professional Advising. So we knew right away when we started to interact with you all at Lyft that we had someone in our corner who kind of understood the unique nature of the work that we do, because it is special, and I think there's something unique about the advising profession. And I think in terms of pride, just seeing people grow and working together collaboratively as a team, everyone, and we were diving into everyone's skill set and bringing that enthusiasm and excitement about advising. It really is a values driven process that, and I think over time, we even find here at UMBC now, people stay in these positions. I'm very, very grateful in terms of the the quiet resignation and some of the challenges folks are facing in terms of turnover. We have a very stable team here, and I think I'm really very fortunate and grateful for a team of individuals who are really committed to the process and want to improve and are not afraid to change. I mean, if it was a big challenge, change is often difficult. We really had to think outside the box and operate differently and take some chances and some risks, but people were willing to put in the time and effort and energy many times in the evening or over the weekends. I mean, and those are some of the things that I'm proud of, that we actually made some changes in, going from the first year to the second year, third year, that we saw there were some steps that we could eliminate, and some extra, bureaucratic aspects of the program that were more difficult for the students or parents that were looking over the shoulders of their students in terms of getting from one place in the process to the next. We were able to eliminate some of that after really analyzing what's available and what the ability of the tools were. We started to look at WebEx differently and appreciate the work that Amber did to sort of illuminate and show us how those tools could work effectively. We actually were able to completely remove a contract and an aspect of the program, an expensive contract of another vendor that we were using for making appointments and setting up appointments with some of our advisors. We were able to eliminate that completely, which made it an easier, more streamlined process. So, I think pride in the staff, pride in seeing them grow, pride in seeing how well students were ranking us, and we're providing the feedback in terms of the outcomes, and then just the our ability to continue to innovate and to not be afraid to take chances, and to always be there for one another. And we've always felt that way about LIFT and their support, and we thought it was important in terms of the going out to the National Academic Advising Association and having Amber there as a team member to talk about, it does, sometimes you need a consultant to come in to help you to adopt or make changes or to use the technology in a specific way. But then, there's the fact that over time, we're now a lot more stable. We've taken the training wheels off. We can ride the bike alone if we need to, but it's great to have someone, a company like LIFT working with us, and really sophisticated and committed staff members like Amber. So we're really grateful. And it was great to have her there to be a part of our team, because she was an integral part of the success of the model.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Ken. And I know Amber echoes the sentiment in regard to how our team feels about all the staff that she and others in our company have had a chance to work with in partnering with you guys. If you're just joining us, I'm Tara Thomas Gettman with LIFT. We are live streaming our weekly LIFTu interview series. Inaugural guest, Amber Moore, a big part of our team here at LIFT. And she has partnered for a while now with Dr. Ken Barron at the University of Maryland, Baltimore County, so much so that twice they've been able to go to a national conference, as Dr. Barron referenced, to speak about how this virtualized orientation advising model not only worked, but was very successful in terms of a record enrollment 2 years running for UMBC as a result. Amber, can you speak to the lessons learned and how others can model what UMBC has pulled off in the higher ed space?
Absolutely. There's lots of lessons learned and different things that we coach on and we look for in terms of best practices. But the main thing that I think we really took away from this is the different kinds of outcomes that, some of them expected and some of them not. And I'd like to touch on a couple of them because they're just really important. One of them being, all of a sudden we had a very, consistent, we've got that increased business continuity that was a little more tricky before, right? If the power goes out and we're all in the library doing this together, the power's out, we can't register for courses anymore. In a virtual model, that may be one person's power. It just went out and it's no big deal. We'll grab another advisor and pop the student in a different room, right? You don't have those kind of catastrophic events that unfortunately can occur when you're all together. There's a lot more knowledge transfer between students and advisors and, in advance to kind of help prepare. These experiences were always really purposely built when they were in person, but it became even more intentional, it seemed like, as things were moving remote, because we were so concerned about how that experience was going to come across. One of the things I think that I'm most proud of in this is that ability for everybody to have this really instant cross department collaboration that before felt probably a little harder, because you were walking from one table to another and you had one person, at that table, and that person kind of had to give up their whole day to be there. And now all of a sudden, these advisors and students have access to entire departments, and all of the people are standing ready to answer a question in a really, kind of almost a combination of asynchronous and synchronous, because it's happening virtually and it just takes 1 second. And if they need to pop into the room and, have another face in front of that student, it's a 1 click away. And I think that has been one of the biggest outcomes of this, because now that cross-departmental collaboration that was built within this process is year-round. They're doing that all year round, which is a huge lesson and takeaway from this, because they realized how much more efficient they could all be when they have that cross-departmental collaboration. And I'm sure Ken could probably talk on that a little bit too.
Yeah, speak to that, Ken, because when you think of how you guys ran with this, now you've extended it to other engagements and events.
Well, and I think Amber's so right. The model, as much as we love the 7th floor of the library, and it brought this sort of collaborative sort of team environment that we were sort of working together every day, with lots of analogies about a small airport, but it's like a small village, people walking around, helping one another. And there was a really great energy and puzzle masters and, figuring things out. But the reality was, it was not as efficient when you just have one person, a representative from the registrar, or maybe no one's there from the admissions office because they're running around, dealing with other issues that day. I mean, we were able to situate people in these team rooms in a manner where the issues that get raised are addressed immediately. And it was, I think, more there was pride. Talk about pride. There was pride in the way people from the representatives from the office were answering the questions, almost like a swarm of service. Who's going to be first to answer that question? And, and I couldn't even imagine those kinds of things in the past, because it was asking a lot for people to spend an entire day. And so I think our relationships with other offices, when they can be involved in orientation every day, or the days that we're running, or not every single day of the summer, but many of the days that we're running orientation, and it's not as much of a lift or an ask for them, if they can, manage it by just making sure people are available inside a WebEx team room. So, and as Amber was saying, now that's brought efficiency and effectiveness to the advising process that takes place now after orientation is over. And even today, I mean, there were conversations going on between the registrar and the admissions office that, just, minutes ago, hours ago, where people are using those rooms to take care of issues and communicate with one another. And it's not, you don't have to track someone down. You just have to go into the room and ask the question. So it's really brought in, a new era of looking at what we do in advising, and not just advising, but again, the connections and the enormity of what actually goes on, in an orientation program. And I would say, I appreciate it from day one, working with you all from the first meetings that we had. You all were very interested in understanding that model, all of its complexities, all the aspects. And, there's a workflow map that Amber created based on those conversations that we actually presented at the NACADA conference, which I think is probably the secret sauce in the whole model. And that is getting down to the real elemental levels of what takes place, who's doing what at each aspect of the process of securing that student. And, how does this all come together? What is the timing? What does the handoff look like? If a technology breaks down, who's jumping in to fix something? So that has been, just really, really amazing. And I think we've learned a lot from the process mapping and the project management that Amber brought to this. And so, yes, the efficiencies and effectiveness of the model are living with us beyond the summer months and when we're about to go into winter, we have winter orientation too. So it's just right around the corner now. But these efficiencies and the model itself has really proven to be, so popular. And I just remember after the first summer, people were worried that we were going to put all this back in a box and say, well, are we going to go back to the regular model? And even if we were going to go back to in-person advising, we're not going to discontinue, the tools that we're using, because they are so helpful.
That's great. Amber, talk a little bit more about that workflow mapping process. What is unique about LIFT in terms of what you and your team can do to replicate, as Ken said, what is really going on specific to their culture and their university? How do you make it personal?
I mean, it's really simple. I listen, right? We listen, whether, no matter what our project is, it always starts with that, because we are never going to truly understand what's happening inside the walls of that building unless we ask, right? So it's kind of a, I'm trying to remember how Laszlo worded it the other day, but he called it like the most important process, yet the most, like, he didn't use the word boring, but kind of boring, because I make people take a process that they know forward and backward. They know it so well. And I make them take me through it step by step in a really almost, almost tedious kind of way. Like, if you've seen, I don't know if anybody has seen this, it's kind of blowing up right now, but the teachers who have their students teach them how to make a peanut butter jelly sandwich, to teach kind of a technical writing expertise, right? And students are like, spread the peanut butter on the sandwich, and they hold up the jar of peanut butter and rub it on the sandwich. And they're like, oh, no, first you got to grab the knife, and then you got to dip the knife in the peanut butter and get a wad of peanut butter on the knife. And then you take the knife and spread it, right? You're breaking the step down into these really minute things, but that's where we're going to see gaps. If there's gaps, we're going to see areas that we can streamline and be like, we don't need all of these steps right here, because if we go from here to here, it takes care of that for us without having these 5 other things in here. Or, we realize maybe we've got the wrong person doing the wrong things. And if we switch these 2 people around, it's going to be way more efficient because of A, B, and C, right? It really helps put that picture all together with people who, yes, they know it forward and back, but most people don't take the time to detail it out like that. And when people see it like that, all of a sudden wheels start turning and ideas start flowing, and people see the value of doing it, because then it shows the true picture of what's going on. And then we can take that picture and make the changes we need. Like, this is an in-person picture. How do we take that and turn it into a virtual one?
Thank you for explaining that. And that is the nuance, or the key is, we're not doing a cookie cutter approach, because what you and your team have done with UMBC looks different than any other engagement across the board. Yet you guys are replicating that process, but making it so personal, which is that, unique added touch. Thanks for explaining that. If you're just joining our live stream, I'm Tara with LIFT. Amber is a lead executive in our company who works with clients all over the globe. And we are fortunate to have an ongoing engagement with Dr. Ken Barron in the University of Maryland, Baltimore County, where he and his team are truly innovative in how they have embraced digital transformation. We have come alongside them to help make that happen, and to really power, as Ken has alluded to, a humanistic approach in terms of how the technology is not driving their work, but it's supporting the people and the passion that show up every day at UMBC. Ken, you've had a long career both at UMBC, and prior to that, I know you were fortunate that you did work overseas. I mean, you studied in England. And what I loved about your past that you've shared with me, you were talking about these kinds of digital, virtual engagements decades before you became part of executing them. So can you share how it feels for you, like you've come full circle in your career?
Yeah, no, thanks for bringing that up. It's come up a couple of times in the last few months, just seeing what's happened on campuses. But I was very fortunate. And I actually last week I gave a speech for a Rotary Club in Frederick, Maryland, and I actually talked about my experience as a Rotary ambassadorial scholar. The Rotary Foundation sponsored my graduate study at the University of Surrey, and I was very fortunate to work with a supervisor named Peter Jarvis, who is an adult education expert, and he really challenged me to look outside of the initial research proposals that I brought over with me from the US, and to really look at the impact of globalization and IT on higher education. He's talking to me, this is back in the 1990s. So he was kind of way ahead of the curve, and asked me to read 50 books on various topics related to globalization, post-modernity, some various selective books in sociology, but really focusing on the impact and the enormity of these forces shaping society in terms of globalization and IT. And so that really made a huge impact on me. And so I ended up changing my focus to move in that direction. And I was very lucky to have this opportunity at Surrey to pursue a research model where I did qualitative research and investigating, how these forces were being perceived by students, by advisors, by faculty members, by career services personnel, by university hierarchy and employers. And interestingly enough, at the end of the day, in terms of the conclusions and implication sections for my research, it was everyone in their own words talked about the need to manage and maintain this sort of one-on-one interaction with individuals as part of an advising experience. That technology would be great. Using degree audits, using technology for efficiency's sakes was definitely supported and acknowledged, but everyone in their own unique way wanted to protect the manner and the way and with the special manner in which people needed to continue to have conversations, to talk about their futures, to talk about their options, which really gets back to this sort of fundamental principle for me and for my staff and for the work that I've been engaged in, and that is to really keep the humanistic view in mind. The technology is great. It's always great to have more information, big data, using analytics, but at the end of the day, we're working with individuals and humans. And so I was very fortunate to have that experience and wrote about it. I hope to write about it some more, but it has come full circle, and I'm very grateful for that experience and just spending time abroad and I was able to work abroad in London and to work in the study abroad space, which is really important to me.
Well, thank you for expounding on that, because I know it's so incredible how today, more than ever, right, we feel that connectedness can be missing when things have become, digital driven. I think we lost Dr. Barron here, but that's fine because we were planning to wrap anyway. Thank you so much, Amber, for joining us as well. Final note from you: why is UMBC taking the lead? And here comes Dr. Barron. Good, you're back. We didn't want to lose you without bidding farewell, Ken,
No,
but I'm wrapping.
no,
I'm wrapping the
appreciate
interview
it. There's a
anyway. Yeah.
little
Yes.
technology glitch there, but I'm back.
I know, right? Like Amber said, hey, we're still going. The lights didn't go out for everybody. So, final thoughts from you, Amber, about what is it about UMBC that makes it unique when you contrast it with sometimes the stereotype, if you will, of higher ed not wanting to make sweeping changes in a short amount of time. I mean, clearly UMBC not only embraced it, but managed to use it where the data bears out it was so successful because it actually grew their enrollment.
Yeah. The really amazing thing about UMBC is they're extremely entrepreneurial. And people will tell you that when you ask people what makes UMBC special, they talk about the family that UMBC truly is, not in the cheesy way that every company says they are, but because they really are. And the fact that they are so entrepreneurial. You'll hear those two things all the time. And so that makes them really unique, because you're not wrong. Higher ed and government also, like, they're not very quick to change. They have really sound processes and systems, and it takes a while to steer a big ship a different direction, right? So, but what's really nice is because they are so entrepreneurial, they're able to very quickly see the value in making potential changes. And once they decide, you know what, we need to do this because it's what's right for UMBC and our students and our community, they jump right in, and they don't really look back. They know that it was done for the right reason. And that's exactly what happened here.
That's a great note to end on. Final word from you, Ken. What are you excited about moving forward? I know as an advisor and somebody who cares about the outcome for students, that really is driving you. And I know there's more to come when it comes to UMBC being willing to take risks. So can you speak to that as you look at what's ahead?
Yeah, I think, great lessons learned over the last few years in terms of, using technology and connecting with former students. I talked about that in the beginning of the interview. It's something, we're actually working on an article right now on the need and the value around online education and online course provision. We're going through a period now where we're not going to be able to rely on our quote unquote traditional age students, the 18 to 20 to 22, 24-year-olds, because there are not as many of those people graduating from high school. So there's demographic trends that are going to require us to look at enrolling students in different ways and from different capacities. So I think we're going to be looking at returning adult students, looking at people who were here or were here at UMBC or at other institutions and are looking to come back and finish. And so I think all of the technology, the provision of online advising appointments, more online classes, helping people, meeting people where they're at. The world's changed, and I think we learned a lot of positive things coming out of COVID. And we're swinging back, back into the direction towards, in-person instruction, in-person advising, and that's great. We're not an online school, but I'm excited at UMBC. I think we're starting to look at these things more seriously, starting to plan for them, starting to write about them, starting to collect data on them. And so I'm excited about that next chapter. I'm learning new things. I've been in advising for over 35 years, and I feel like in the last 2 years, it's been kind of a postgraduate course, and having to put the learning cap back on and keeping an open mind and enjoying, the work in a different way. And so I'm really excited about that, and excited that I get an opportunity to continue our work with you all. And look forward to new projects, new horizons, and new goals and objectives.
Thanks again, Dr. Kinbaron with UMBC. We are so privileged to work with you and your team. And I know I speak for Amber and all of us at LIFT when we say congratulations to you on all the success thus far. And we know that it will only continue because, as you've described today, as we've delved into, there is a spirit of collaboration and innovation that really mirrors what we're trying to do at LIFT. So it's a fun marriage for all of us. Thanks for watching our LIFTu live stream, our first official live event. We're going to be doing this every week, and you'll get to hear from incredible thought leaders like Dr. Barron as the weeks move on. And we'd love to have you or somebody from UMBC back as a future guest. On behalf of LIFT Innovate, if you'd like to learn more, go to our website. That's www.liftinnovate.com. Thanks for joining us for this live stream. Amber Moore, Dr. Kinbaron, have a great day.